So welcome back to ATRE. We are here in a very sunny, hot London. And today I'm joined by Alex Shaw, who's the founder of Capitum Connect. So firstly, welcome onto the channel. Thank you for having me. And yes, we're both melting. So we'll try not to sweat to death whilst we're having a chat. It might have to be a slow walk around and get as much shade. Try not to step on a duck. Exactly. So firstly, Alex, what do you do with Capitum Connect? So Capitum Connect is positioned as a capital advisory. So we do capital advisory, and I would say capital or / strategic introductions. So if I put it in a nutshell, we speak to developers, we speak to operators that are working on specific projects. A lot of our stuff is on hotels at the minute, but they're looking to capital raise or raise equity. And that could be from a family office, that could be from an institutional capital. And what we do is we go through their entire plans, so their financial models, their data rooms, their pitch decks, make sure they're up to scratch. We kind of scrutinize them from an investor's perspective, let's say, make sure everything stacks up from an exit and return on investment point of view, go through their pitch decks as well. And then once they're ready, we then introduce them to either institutional capital or, let's say, once again, family offices or investors of that like. So you're now in the real estate space, but that wasn't always the case with you, was it? So you started as a lawyer? Yeah, so it's been a bit of a whirlwind of a career. So studied in law, did a master's in law, always wanted to be a lawyer. And then when I kind of got there and I was working on the private client side and trust and estates for a law firm based in Manchester, I was like, you know what, after all of this and kind of years of studying, I was like, this really isn't for me. And I needed a bit of a mix up. I'd say I'm quite entrepreneurially minded. So I needed something that kind of reflected that. I wanted to move to London as well. So I actually got into executive search on the recruitment, on the real estate end. So my job was building teams on the investment, acquisition and asset management side. So we'd work with KSL Capital Partners, Starwood, Tristan Capital. We'd work with Savills on their hotel capital markets team. And we were pretty sector agnostic across real estate. So did that for a number of years, from consultant to director level, and then that's how I branched then into Capitum Connect. Were there any transfer of skills which you could use in both sectors? You know what, I think the main thing is, when it comes to real estate in general, I think it's networking and being very client facing. It's always this thing of not what you know, but who you know, and that is a big thing to some extent. Obviously, you need to be able to work your way around the model and stuff like that, or be able to look at a contract and be able to do your due diligence. But also you need to be able to go out there, speak to developers, speak to investors, and really build those relationships. So there are people that are watching this which may not feel entirely confident enough to step into a room and do that networking. What would be your advice for them? Well, if I was to say, I mean, even at the junior level, right? And we see this all the time, and I kind of had this experience. So say, for example, you're currently studying at university and you're doing real estate investment or land economics, whatever it may be. What you need to do is just kind of bite the bullet and go out there, because when I did a law degree, I didn't do any internships really until I graduated, and I didn't do any work experience. I didn't really network. I just thought, oh, my degree is going to be enough, and then I can just go out there and I can work at Allen & Overy or Clifford Chance and it's going to be fine. And so until I graduated, I realized, like, I need to do way more than that. And the people, I mean, you're a great example, right? Because, you're young, you want to get into the industry, and look what we're doing now. You're speaking to some great names on your channel, and that's how we connected. Like, you're going out and you're voicing your opinions and you're networking. So what I would say to people is, don't be afraid. Even on LinkedIn, people kind of forget that LinkedIn is a tool to connect. It's okay just sending a connection request, but follow up on that. There's nothing wrong with sending a message to an investment director or a surveyor or whatever type of sector you want to go into, and just saying,
can we have a chat? Can I learn about how you got to where you are now? Can you give me some insights of what's going on in the market, whether it's London, whether it's Europe? And you know, in real estate, everyone seems to know each other, but more than that, everyone is happy to help. And I think that's why I've stuck around in this sector, is because everyone does want to collaborate and everyone does want to help each other. So what I would say is kind of bite the bullet, drop people messages on LinkedIn, ask for a coffee, ask for a chat, and you'll soon break down those boundaries, because they might introduce you to someone else who might introduce you to someone else, and then you've built that network, right?
So that leads me on to the next question of, I call it the coffee chat, okay? So I've done this question to probably the past 4 or 5 guests
here we go.
that I've had on this channel, and we just touched on it with growing your network, and you mentioned message people to go and have a coffee with them to sort of build that relationship. But as a real estate professional, what do you expect the young person or student perhaps to know, firstly about you, what you do, and to sort of their outcome of the coffee for it to be beneficial for both parties? Do you understand what I mean?
I know what you mean, and it's quite funny that you say this, because there's a lot of people in the real estate profession that have been in the sector for years that don't do actually any background checks. You know, I get people reaching out to me on LinkedIn thinking we're running a company that's completely different. They'll be like, oh, we've seen you're developing this, or we've seen that you're a private equity firm that's working on this project. And we're like, hold on a second, like, no, we're not. I mean, we're part of these deals and we're advising on these deals, and you know, we've just started putting a bit of skin in the game on some of these projects on the investment side, but we're not that. And all it takes is a bit of a background check, a bit of a look on your website or whatever it may be. When it comes to sitting down with someone early on in their career and having that coffee chat, I'd say the main thing for me isn't necessarily, I mean, of course, get familiar with the website, get familiar with LinkedIn posts and kind of what projects we're working on and stuff like that. But the main thing for me is the passion. You know, I speak to people like yourself or, you know, whoever it may be, and as long as that passion is there, that's what people really care about. Having that passion, being able to listen as well, I think is the main thing. You know, if I'm telling you something, I mean, I'm not a guru of any imagination, but you know, just seeing people taking notes or absorbing that information, people are going to love that. And we want passionate people in the industry, right? I think that's one of the reasons why I love hospitality so much, is because people are so passionate about it. They're in the industry, they've stayed in hotels, they're working on great projects, and they're so passionate about hospitality compared to, I'm sorry for saying this, people that might be doing offices or industrial logistics, and it's a little bit of a dull thing, right? So if that passion's there, the coffee chat's going to go amazingly, and we're probably more incentivized to share some more information with you and maybe refer you to other people as well.
I'm just going to pick up quickly about the hospitality side of things. So why did you go down the hospitality route?
I think once again it's that thing of everyone's very passionate about it, but also the projects I get to work on are, you know, they're a lot more of an international scale, but also they're a lot more exciting. And what I'm seeing in the hospitality sector is it's starting to sort of seep and bleed into other asset classes. So when I was at university, for example, student accommodation or PBSA was kind of like living in a ghetto, I'm not gonna lie. Like it was, you know, it looked a bit dodgy. And then you go to some of these PBSA schemes now. I was at Square Gardens, which is a development that Downing Group have done, like a Liverpool-based developer. I was walking around it and it was incredible, you know. They had a gym, co-working, cinema room, a golf simulator, and I'm thinking like, bloody hell, you know. And it looked more like a hotel than it did a student accommodation scheme. And it's the same with co-working or flex office. You go to the office group, you go to Fora, well it's the same company now, or you go to a WeWork, and all of the other amenities that come with it, kind of parts of it look a bit like a hotel.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting how they're all blending together. I mean, one of the massive things now is branded residency. So it's kind of, you're mixing that residential aspect with the hospitality aspects of a hotel and obviously putting a brand into it. So I think it's kind of that cross sector of hospitality is bleeding into other asset classes that I love so much.
I'm going to pick up what you said there with the international side of things. So I understand that you do work in the UK, but you also have got work over in Asia.
I'd say the majority of the stuff we're doing at the minute is overseas. So we're working on 2 wellness resort developments in Mexico right now. We've got a prime city center hotel redevelopment in Tokyo. We've got a castle redevelopment in southern Italy. That's going to be a hotel, but then they're also building villas and private and branded residencies on the land as well, next to the vineyard. So most of the stuff we're doing right now, which is incredibly exciting for me because I get to travel a lot, which is great, is overseas.
Yeah, okay. Do you see any changes in market? Is it relatively the same sort of work no matter where you are in the world, or do you have to adapt to the specific area that you're working in regards to clients or even?
Well, I think that's also kind of blending in a way, but what I would say the main thing is at the moment, particularly if you look at London, there's a lot less ground up development now. So even in the build to rent space, I think I was reading something the other day where in the last 10 years, I think this year we're at the kind of all-time low when it comes to build to rent ground up developments. And we're seeing the same with hotels in London as well. So we're kind of moving away from developing from the ground up because of rates increasing, building costs increasing, labour costs, material prices increasing, and they're moving away from that. And what they're doing is we're seeing a lot of models where they're acquiring maybe a underperforming commercial building like an office, and they're acquiring it, they're doing a refurb into a hotel. Or what we're seeing as well is a lot of asset light strategies, which is what the bigger brands are doing anyway, but they're not acquiring anything, they're leasing and then doing a light refurb into a hotel. Whereas if you go to Mexico, or Portugal's changing at the minute, but if you go to Portugal or any of these other countries, and especially in Asia, where labour costs are a lot lower, materials are a lot lower, the rates are lower, they're still able to do those big ground up development projects. So I'd say that's the biggest difference is things are getting so expensive in the UK right now, we're having to go to, smaller projects or asset light, so leasing rather than developing.
So you've got a very entrepreneurial mindset. How long have you had Capitum Connect for?
So it's quite a new firm. So we've been in the background. It's been something that we've been working on for about 2 years now. We officially launched literally January as a full-time company.
Okay.
So we're incredibly new.
Nice. So what are some of the challenges that you've had having to start up this new firm?
I think it's gaining that trust initially. I mean, my background, we've got some great partners now that, they've got excellent backgrounds within private equity and financial modeling that are able to do a lot of the due diligence on these projects that partner with me, and that's great. I think firstly, moving from exec search or law even to then working on these big projects, it's about gaining that trust. I think another thing as well, which might be a thing for you, I don't know if you've had this. I mean, I'm about to hit 30, so some people would say that's old, some people would say I'm still a child. But if I walk into a room, I'm working with big developers or institutional capital, they look at me and they think this guy's quite young.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, well, what is he going to provide? What is he going to bring to the table? And I think that's when you need to be on your game and really be able to add some value in your, let's say, initial meeting or something like that. That people are like, okay, we can take this guy seriously. And you might have this, I don't know if you've had this before when you're speaking to people, but that's been a big factor for me, weirdly enough.
No, I have, especially maybe reaching out to people on LinkedIn. I think if I were to go to a networking event, everyone was quite encouraging of what I do. But it's definitely when you're online.
And I'd say a big thing for me is the kind of brokerage model at the minute, I would say, is ever so slightly broken. We're walking through a busy
I know,
patch.
it's a very busy patch.
It's a packed day in summer, so fair enough. But yeah, what we found that I'd say hindered us a little bit is the brokerage model right now, for example, is there's a lot of brokers out there. I mean, we don't claim to be a broker because we're advising on the pitch deck, we're advising on the financial models and stuff like that. But the brokerage model is kind of, pardon my French, but kind of pissing a lot of investors off because they're being sent emails all day long from people saying, oh, we have this investment opportunity and we're working with a developer, but you know, they're emailing investors that maybe the opportunity doesn't even fit the investor's pipeline, it doesn't fit the dry powder that they're looking to deploy. And I think the brokerage model is we'll take on a investment opportunity from a developer or an operator, we'll fire 200 or 300 emails out and see what sticks and see what comes back from an investor's perspective. And that's shutting a lot of investors, new investors that we're trying to build relationships with, down, because they're thinking, well, you're just another one of these people that have an investment opportunity. So that's why we've tried to go a completely different way, where we say, look, we're working directly with this developer. We've done all of this due diligence and we've helped tweak everything enough that we're only going to be speaking about this particular development opportunity to maybe 2 or 3 investors at most that are purely tailored for that investment opportunity. So that's kind of, we're trying to break away from that brokerage model and becoming really, really tailored and really, really direct, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You mentioned that you went full time in around January. What was the thing that clicked in your mind that made you think that you just needed to fully commit to this and it was a real opportunity of yours?
My contract was coming to an end, so I had a contract to open the hotel desk at a boutique real estate recruitment firm in London. My contract was coming to an end for that. I opened a few doors there, so it was, okay, do I get another job or do I start looking at this full time? And we were just taking on enough projects where we think, okay, if we can execute all of these well, touch wood, then it's going to give us enough of an income, enough of a structure that we can earn enough money to start investing in some of these projects ourselves, which is what we've just started to look at the minute. So it's just about timing, really. The contract had ended. We're taking on quite a few really great projects, and we were like, well, if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it, right? It's one of those.
Okay. And what's the mindset that you need to have? I understand that you probably have had a fair few setbacks already, even though it's been 2 years since you've had the company, but what's that mindset that you have that just keeps you going, which people watching should try to replicate?
It's just that, and you're probably going to hear this all the time, and it's very kind of cringy, but it's just that thing of not giving up. And it's really funny when you're kind of in the middle of an investment opportunity. There's so many things. I mean, a big part of it is kind of in a way down to luck. I mean, you're making your own luck, but you know, you could be working with an investor or a private equity firm that is really interested in a project, and then all of a sudden, okay, they're like, okay, we might not be looking to deploy now, actually. Or maybe you're working with a developer and you find out later down the line there might be a few nicks in the road that they need to sort out first before we then become investor ready, let's say. And then with a lot of these things, sometimes to finish an equity tranche, it could take 6 months, it could take 2 weeks, it could take a year. So there's a lot of kind of things in the road that you don't necessarily have too much control over. Yeah. And you think everything's going well, and then someone might pull out, right at the last minute. You need to think, there's been a 1 or 2 times. Lucky enough, I'm quite passionate. I have some good people around me where I think everything is going perfectly well, and then last minute it just kind of gets pulled under and you have to start again, right? Right. So it's just having that kind of grit and determination to keep pressing on. And that's worked well because, one day you might be back to square one, and then another day, 2 days later, another opportunity might come. Right. So it's just about not giving up on it, which is cringy, but it's true.
In simple terms, for the people that may not understand what you do day to day, how's an average day look like for you?
An average day is meetings, and more meetings, which is why I'm probably looking like I've just been in a steam room. It's because I've had 3 today that have been sort of all over London. But yeah, it's meetings, because we're speaking with different developers daily, we're speaking with different operators, sometimes we're referred different schemes or different projects. So it's meetings in regards to, okay, what does this concept look like? What does this project look like? What types of investors are you needing for this? You know, so it's either meetings or it's Excel, because we're plastering through financial models, we're doing as much due diligence as possible, and then we sat on more meetings for maybe 3-4 hours to then go through those financial models from an investor's perspective, to really rip them apart and really question the developer or question the operator. So I'd say my day is meetings or Excel.
Nice.
or traveling to meetings. One thing I think that sets us apart from a lot of other people is we say no to 90% of the stuff and 90% of the projects that we get pitched on. And I think that goes back to the thing of, you know, we don't want to say yes for yes's sake and then not really be able to provide value. And sometimes we say no to a project, not because it's a bad project, it might be great, but it might just not be at the stage where we can come in and add value, right? So maybe there's a lot of things that need to be done, whether they need to work on their brand a little bit more, whether they need to put LOIs in place, if it's an asset light strategy, to really say to an investor, okay, this is our concept and we have LOIs on particular assets to say that, okay, we're ready to action here. So yeah, I'd say we say no to 90% of the stuff and say yes to the 10% that we know we can actually add some value.
Nice. So how many hours a week are you working at the moment?
Oh God. It's
just to put it in perspective, instead of an average part-time job being about 40 hours, what are you hitting?
You know what it is? I've kind of been the same whether I've been employed by someone or whether I'm working for myself, which is what I'm doing now. Is if I'm passionate about something, I tend to forget about the time. So I'd say any job I've kind of done, it's never really been a 9 to 5. I mean, I'm not a morning person, to be quite honest with you. Unless I've had at least 2 cups of coffee, no one can speak to me, and I accept that. That's just the way it is. But most days it can be start at 8 and finish, God, it could be 11, 12. I think it's a little bit different for us because, like we said previously, we work on a lot of international projects. So sometimes I need to have meetings with people in the US. Sometimes I need to have meetings with people in Asia. So sometimes I can be having a meeting at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
Okay.
And we're providing a service, right? And we want those clients and we want to build those relationships. So in a way we don't have a choice. Well, we need to do that. So to answer your question, it kind of feels like a 24-hour job.
What's the best part of it though?
I think the best part of it, it's kind of going back to what we said earlier, I think it's just the people.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing how many people have, and it depends what stage as well. There could be people right at the early stages where they have a concept, right? They've got a concept for a new brand, they've got a concept for a flagship hotel or something like that in Mexico or whatever it may be, and just listening to those people that have those, let's say, those dreams, right? I think those are amazing. And then also I'd say seeing something from beginning to end, you know, getting that data room, getting that pitch deck, working with a developer when they've purchased a piece of land, for example, and then later on seeing that built up and finished as a hotel, and it's been furnished and there's amenities and you can go stay the night there and you think, I was there from day one and I was part of this project, you know.
Okay.
And I think everyone in real estate is going to understand that, right?
Definitely, and it's the travelling as well that you get to experience. I bet that is one of the best parts.
It is to a point. So it's quite funny. Last year, in the space of 3 weeks, what did we do? Capitum Connect in London. Then we flew to LA for a project, for a conference. And then we went to Vegas for a Blueprint conference. And then we flew to Manchester for the annual hospitality conference, and then we flew to Rome for the Italian hospitality investment conference, all within 3 weeks. And everyone was like, wow, that's amazing, you've been all over the place. I was dead.
Yeah,
I was dead for like a month.
Especially with the time zone differences and
it was
jet
a nightmare.
lag.
And the thing is, you might have found this with being at UK Reef yourself, is, you know, it's great being in Vegas or whatever, but when you've been at a conference from 8 a.m. and then it finishes after you've had the little drinks at the end and networking part at 8 p.m, all you want to do is go back to your hotel and go to bed. So
Definitely.
It's amazing traveling, and honestly, I'm from a little council estate in Manchester, so the thought of working on these projects, traveling to these places, working with amazing people, whether it's on the investment side, development side, I feel so lucky and privileged, like, honestly.
Why should young people also get into the same industry and do the job that you're doing in the future?
I think just a multitude of reasons, really. It's such a broad question to really answer. I would say, once again, the people you're going to meet are incredible, and they want to help you. I think being part of something that's going to be the city's future, and also your family's future, you know, whether it's student accommodation, a big one right now is data centers. You know, we need them because AI is, well, it's here. You know, it's coming thick and fast. We need to build data centers, whether it's affordable housing, you know, being able to work on affordable housing projects where you're helping the community is a special thing. There's a lot of ways through real estate that you can really give back to the community, and I think that's a big thing. But I could spend 3 hours answering that question. It's so broad, mate. So
I'm going to touch on what you said with AI.
Yes.
So would you say this job that you do is quite AI resilient, or even are you using AI now to help with efficiency?
Actually, one thing we started looking at is helping raise Series A rounds for one or two select few hotel tech and prop tech companies. It's a completely different method of raising capital, and it's something that we've been learning as we go along, but it's been incredibly exciting. But AI comes into pretty much nearly everything that we do, especially on the hospitality side at the minute, because, you know, hotels are integrating AI or tech operationally, so they're making it so people can check in on their phones, people can open their hotel room doors through their phones. They want to cut staffing costs down a little bit by using tech. PMSs are being upgraded. So yeah, it's in everything. And it's one thing I'm kind of worried about at the minute for the future of hospitality is, you know, are we going to lose the human experience of hospitality? If, for example, I was in a hotel, I won't name the brand of it just in case they kick off, because I was going to say I didn't like my experience that much. But I was in a hotel in Germany the other week, and I checked in on my phone, opened the door using my phone. The next day I checked out on my phone. I didn't see anyone. I didn't see a single person in the hotel. And I think that might be great for some people, whether they're commuting for business and they're just in there to sleep or whatever it may be. But for me, I really miss that human touch and that human connection that you get with a lot of hotels and a lot of brands. But then at the same time, there's some companies right now that are using tech to build apps and tech stacks to connect people and have more of a community within their hotel base. So you can have a membership with a certain brand where, I don't know, say you're a tech entrepreneur. Actually, there's some brands right now that they will connect you with another tech entrepreneur that stays in their hotel and is a member of that brand.
Wow.
It's a difficult balance. And then another thing as well, sorry to kind of rant on about this, but I'm passionate on the AI side, is another thing that worries me, and I was talking about this on a round table the other day, is, are we going to, and I'm sorry for this if you want to be an analyst, but there's that argument of, are we going to need investment analysts in the future? And it's something I was talking about on a similar podcast too, is because a lot of people on the investment side and the development side are using tech or using AI to help with the underwriting. And if you can build a financial model and turn it into an investment memorandum to share with your board or whatever within 8 minutes, are you going to need an analyst to manually do that?
Yeah.
Or can an investment manager or an investment director build the model using AI, and then as long as they oversee it, do we need an analyst? You know?
Especially at junior level.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be hard. So unless they change what an analyst does and makes it heavily, okay, they're going to be the people using the AI, then perhaps that's the case. But I think you're going to need at least less investment analysts in the future, which is a worry for me, especially for someone who's placed so many analysts into developers or investment companies. Yeah.
These people watching this video need your advice. So obviously AI is just around the corner, and it will be undoubtedly taking a load of jobs away from them, especially myself.
Well, maybe not, but it's the feeling that I'm getting, and I guess I am actively, especially the last 2 years, seeing investment teams slim down ever so slightly because of that. But it could also be because, once again, we're doing less ground up development, and you see people, you speak to analysts at like Greystar, and they're underwriting deals every day that they know for a fact aren't being executed on. So they kind of just sat there twiddling their thumbs, underwriting stuff that they know isn't going to be exited on. So obviously they're having to slim down teams because they don't need them, right? So it's kind of the mix between AI and also the fact we're just not doing as many developments as we used to even 2 years ago.
So what can these people watching do this week to become more AI confident, I suppose?
Use it.
By doing what can you do with AI? What do you mess around with AI and ask it to feel like you've done a better job and you understand it better?
It's just getting familiar with the processes. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because a lot of AI that's being used is like enterprise AI, where there's of course like a ton of GDPR, a ton of data protection that comes with it and stuff like that. You can't just dump a load of this data into Claude and then to see what comes out, right? But what I would suggest is, even at, if you're young and wanting to get familiar with it, is number one, go onto Udemy. A ton of courses on there that have been set up by either US or even UK investment managers or investment directors that have courses on financial modeling in AI. Have a look at, and they're not going to give me any commission for this, but like Bayfield training.
Okay.
They do a lot where they're just ahead of the time in regards to their courses when it comes to AI led financial modeling. But just maybe even just plugging in a few hypothetical scenarios, not pure data, but hypothetical scenarios, and then just play around with AI to try and create a financial model out of it, or maybe look at doing some promotes and waterfalls with a hypothetical real estate case study or something like that. Just ways of doing it, but just practice.
Just to finish off, firstly, thank you very much. I understand it's very hot today, and
so hot.
especially to walk around in. It's been tougher than usual. But if you could pick out anything to give advice for these people watching, what would it be? Just one piece of advice that you would give?
Honestly, it's just don't be afraid to connect with people in the industry, and I guess even more importantly than that, don't be afraid to voice your opinions. I think I got a lot further in life career-wise when I started voicing my opinion. It's quite easy to say, and I'm saying do this to a certain degree, but it's quite easy when you're coming along and you're kind of new to the industry and you join a firm at whatever firm you're joining in on the real estate side, and you're just nodding, and you're hearing things, and you're nodding, and maybe you want to add your opinion to something, but you think, well, I'm new and they know what they're doing, and I should probably just sit here and just write everything down and listen and crack on with it. People are going to be so impressed if you just say, hey, I've got an idea, I've got a thought, right? So I think don't be afraid to connect with people at whatever level. Ask them to go for a coffee, for a chat, for a call, whatever it may be. And I think most importantly, when you are with them or you are in the room, make sure you voice your opinion. What are your thoughts on the market? You know, what do you think about a certain development that's being done? And another thing I could also add is make sure you look around. I did a post about this the other day, got some decent traction, only because even just walking around London, right, there's so many developments happening. All you have to do is look up and you get familiar with, okay, what developer's name tag is on this building or this construction site. So he's following us.
We'll pause for a second.
So yeah, so just wherever you are, if you want to get into real estate and you don't know when to start, go for a walk. Just walk around. There's so many developments happening, whether they're refurbishments, whatever it may be. There's tons of them happening around London. It doesn't take 2 seconds to have a look who the developer is. You know, pop them a message on LinkedIn and say, I just walked past your development on so-and-so street in London, really love what you're doing and I'm kind of excited to learn more about the project. And we have a 10-minute conversation. They're going to be like, oh, wow, okay, great. You know, they know about our project, you know, they were obviously, you know, pretty impressed by it. Of course we'll have a chat. So there's just really easy, simple ways of doing it. I think there's just that fear of, I'm quite junior, they're going to say no. But even if they say no, fine. Go message the other person.
Exactly. All right, everyone. That was Alex Shaw from Capitum Connect.
Thank you
very much.
Pleasure. Honestly, just before you go, it's bloody amazing what you're doing. I think that's the reason why we got connected in the first place, is because, you know, I was going to say people your age, but even people not your age, right? Like I said right at the start, just doing a degree or something like that is not enough when it comes to this sector anymore. You really need to go out, speak to people, get your name out there and get heard, and you're learning on the job as well. So what you're doing at the minute is honestly,
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're doing I'm sure you hear this all the time, but you're doing way more than what I was doing when I was your age. So you probably hear that constantly, but honestly, it's all credit to you. You're doing amazing, mate. And I'd love to see 5 years time, 10 years time, when you're an investment director or whatever you're looking to do. I hope you'll remember me.
Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure, mate.
Thank you.